All right. Hey, everybody. Awesome. Welcome to the first episode of Doc Variables. Just kind of playing around, showing you guys some of the features and how I use them, how I've built them, and hopefully we can engage and get some of your questions in. Just so you know, like this is the first time I've really done like a YouTube stream, so bear with me a little bit here. I got like my phone on the side, so if you guys have any questions, just put it up in live chat. Um, Hopefully the sound and video are okay. Um, but number one, wanted to just kind of talk a little bit about somebody is walking up to our door. Wanted to talk a little bit about the reason I started developing doc variables and just kind of some of the history behind it. So, uh, I really appreciate all the people that have sent me feedback and reviews and told us how important it is to their daily work and being more productive as a business. And that's awesome. That's like number one, just the coolest thing ever for me. Um, but the way that I actually even came up with the idea was for my own purposes. I do a lot of sales for our organization, and I had this proposal template, and I had what a lot of people have, which is capitalized kind of variables that I just know that are in there, and then I just do like a search and replace, and I just after a couple of mistakes where I missed some stuff or left another client's name in the proposal for another client, it just looked really bad. I decided it'd be nice to have something that was a little bit more concrete, that it would find the variables that are in the document, show me what they are, and allow me to change them, so I didn't have to always keep a record of it. So I went and first looked on the Google Marketplace to see if there was anything else out there, and there were a couple of things that said add your own variables or templates with like field replacements and stuff like that. And I tried them out, and they were really difficult to use. And yeah, I remember one. It's still on the market, so I won't say what it is, but it was it was so convoluted and complicated, and I was just like, I'm thinking of something that's way simpler. So I spent like a weekend working on it just to kind of proof of concept it, and it worked out. And some of the basic stuff that is still in the tool today, this was back in like 2014. Um, it's pretty much the same code, and I started using it myself months of just you know playing around with it and I guess trying to break it as a whether it was going to be a really useful tool for myself, um, and it worked. It was awesome. Like, and then like eventually I was like, maybe this is something that other people would like. So uh, I went through the steps of making it a little bit more user friendly and something that I could send out to the market, and did that, got through it, and it was really cool. Just in the first year or two, I mean, there wasn't as many add-ons, but really started to see other people use it, got other feedback and requests for features, which I hadn't even thought about, which was awesome, which was another great appreciation I have for the community. Um, and six years later, 7 years later, here we are. Hundreds of thousands of installs, or not hundreds of thousands, but over 100,000 installs, and almost daily, I'm talking to users and seeing how we can help. And one of the requests I get a lot is you know more content on how to leverage the features and stuff. So I had planned to do more recordings about a year ago, um, and I never got around to it. So I figured maybe a live stream session would get me to it. So, um, anyways, I will. Let's. let's get started. I'm gonna switch over to my desktop, and please comment below if anything is not working or if the sound is bad. It'd be nice to make sure that you guys are hearing me okay. The first thing I'll do is just kind of go through the basics, which I'm sure for many of the users out there, these are going to be things that you're using on a daily basis. But we can talk about some of the more nuanced features in them. So the first thing, obviously, is our standard variable, right? If you just do that, you just put the variable name between the curly brackets with the $sign, and you go to start. You'll just see the regular text input variable show up, right? So that's pretty cool. And then like that's the basic, easy way of adding a variable. Now, what can you do with this? So let's say you have, well, let's say this. We want something that is going to be defaulted, right? In a lot of cases when we're sharing templates, you may want to put in a default value just so that the person who's going to be using the template has an understanding of what should be there, right? So we'll just say, webinar, and then if I click refresh here, it'll show the text, but of course we can change that. And then another nice feature that's pretty general across all of the fields is just putting a star in front of the name means that it's required. So if somebody doesn't fill it out, well, in this case, it will already be filled out. But if they do that, when they see this form on the side, they know that that one has to be filled out. And if they try to, submit without filling it in, it's going to give an error until it does. So, and that's not all. Not all the field types have that. I think you guys are going to have to bear with me a little bit here because it has been 7 years of development. So there are still things that I forget whether I built it into or not. So just know that. But I think for the most part, if you put a star in front of the field name, it will mark it as required. Then the other one is, with the text at least, is transform. And this is, I have to look at my notes, but I think there's 3 types. So it's uppercase, lowercase, and then title. So this will actually transform any of the fields into that case type. And the reason why you would do this, this was actually a request from a user. So if you think about it, I'll just show you. So if I do this in the document, it'll place it all uppercase, and then I'll talk about why you would use it. So as you can see, I put in lowercase test, and then it came back as uppercase. This was actually interesting because so let's say you have, I don't know, we'll say color. It's some, variable that could be used in different cases. So let's say in a sentence, it is my favorite color, or my favorite color is And I'm going to cross my fingers a little bit that this works. So the idea here is that, oh, yes, hold on. So I may have different ways of representing the color. So, but I only want to put it in, one time. So this allows me to have, this color variable set as, it's going to be a proper title at the beginning of the sentence, but it would be lowercase at the end of the sentence. So if we put in, I'll just put in all caps red, even though it's not red, it's purple. And then we replace it. Ah, of course. This is what I said I needed to brush up on. Hold on a second. Make sure I have the. I need to put the instructions up in front of me so that I don't make syntax errors. Okay. I think it's actually title case. I'm just verifying before I make a second mistake. Come on. And I believe, let me make sure, I added the link to the documentation in the description. So you guys can take a look there. Oh, no, I didn't. I will add it to the recording. Oh, it's not. See, I would have made a mistake again. It is capitalize. Just try this once more. Oops. Okay. So now if I put in, okay, I gotta use the right purple. It's my favorite color. Wow, that didn't work at all. Oh wait, what happened there? This isn't good when you like find bugs while you're doing a demo. There we go. Okay, I don't know what I did wrong, but there it worked as intended. So it capitalized it in this sentence and it kept it lowercase in that one. So there you go. And I think that kind of covers that default text area or text box. So the next thing we'll show is the text area. So content. So this just, I mean, it really just changes the box here so that we can add more content and, it's longer form so we can see it so it's not cut off by the shorter text or text box, text input. But again, like same features, right? Like I'll do this all the time. There's a one. Content, that. acquire it if we want, refresh to get it, and then there you see. So I mean, like I try to do this as much as possible because especially when we have a proposal where there's blocks of text that we want to talk about a specific piece of scope. We'll make sure that is put in there, and it gives the other team members who are using it the opportunity to just get a sense of like what to write, and I know a lot of people will put even more like just a description of what needs to be here, so it's not really like a default text, but you could say like make sure you use the client's full brand name here or something like that. But yeah, so that's the text area, and then what should we do next? Oh yeah, drop downs. These are awesome. This was one of the original fields that I put in, I believe, because I had it so that, I mean, just as a use case, and our proposals, we may be working with a client that, they have a payment term policies that, like, a lot of clients, it's like net 30, or for us, like our default is net 15, but then there's other clients where it's like net 45 or net 60. And so when we're writing out our contract, I want to make sure that it's clarified on like what terms we're using. So and instead of just leaving it to the salesperson to enter in, wanted to give the options with kind of like the default in our net, like net 15. So oops, got the qualifier there. So the simple syntax here is, I'm assuming that maybe this is kind of hard to read, so I'm going to up the font size for y'all. Let me check live chat. Oh, just my cousin. So yeah, so this is the default syntax. Variable name, options. It's just letting it know this is the field type, and then just a comma delimited list of the options, and it'll just fill in these values. So if I refresh here, there you go. You see them. And so debating whether I should go through the structure, but I'll do that at the end. So here's the other thing that came out of this. So developed this field just to work this way, and then realized sometimes you may have options, but the value that you want output is different. So so there's a way to do this where you can specify the names, and then you can specify the options. And so just making sure that I don't make a mistake here. So instead of options, you say option values, which tells the script that there's going to be different things here. So well, let's do this. Let's say it's so the first, it's going to be the name, or the option name, and then the value that will be put out. So in this case, 15, and then that 15. And I will say, like, you do need to put quotes around these. because otherwise it can mess up the parser a little bit with the colons, just because there's multiple places where it's looking for colons. So it may still work, but I wouldn't necessarily trust it. I would do it this way just to make sure. So now when we refresh, we should see 15, 30, 45. We don't see anything. Oh, here's what I did wrong. Sorry. The quotes do not cover the colon. You gotta have quotes around each of the values. So just to make sure we have 15, then net 15, 30, net 30, 45, net 45. Let's refresh. And there we go. So now we see 15, 30, 45. But when I replace it, it should show net 30. There you go. And that's all there is to it. And like I said, this is a really great option when you are like you could have a lot of text in those quotes that maybe it's like different blurbs that you want to have show, and you can, again, like the collaboration part, you only allow so many choices for people to select when they're creating the document. So this would give them the only options that are for that paragraph or whatever. Okay. Next. Make sure I got everything for the drop downs. Yeah. Oh yeah, date selector. So this is again another one that I knew I wanted to do. I will say the first time that I built this out, it didn't. I used a plugin that I didn't really like and had to change it at some point. But I knew like this was something that I wanted because, again, for our proposals, we always have a date of delivery, a date of expiration, and I just thought it would be nice to be able to make that a field that I could make sure that it was actually a date. So excuse the default there. So this is the default. It will show a calendar view. You can select the date. So let's say we're going to deliver it tomorrow, and it formats it like that: full month name, day of the month, and the year. But then the options that you have to change the format of the date is where it gets a little bit more powerful. So, if you are outside of the U.S. and you want to put maybe like the format of day before month, make sure that I use the right syntax. And again, like this is all in the documentation. But if we want it, okay, so if we wanted it to be numeric and not the full month name, oops, I think that that's the format. So let's just make sure. Yeah, there. So, okay, so it's showing 0702 the date and then the year. So then if we wanted to do day first, we could do that. And then, the nice thing is you do see the format before it actually gets replaced in the document here, so you know what it's going to look like. And then, yeah, and that's pretty much it. Let me copy this so you guys can see it if you haven't worked with dates before, just the different options that you have. Oh, that didn't work. There, so you just year, different ways of showing the month name if you want it to be an abbreviated month or the full month name with the ST or TH. So yeah. So again, like it's a kind of a cool way to make sure that these things are done correctly. And I haven't really gone through like where you can put this stuff, but a lot of times, in the header or the footer, I will put the date of creation or something like that. So having those be available is pretty neat. Let's go to the next section. Oh, that is okay. So those are the basic fields. I do think it would be okay. And one of the things I didn't mention, I know I went straight into fields, but there's other uh, functions to this too. Like this, most of the or at least the three fields that we talked about here, you can use this dialog too on the right hand side to put in. So if I just want to like say, all right, I'm gonna do a date here, it kind of gives me a wizard for this, even though for the most part it's pretty easy to put in the syntax, but delivery date, and I have some default date formats here, so it will show this. And really, it's like you could copy and paste this into the document too if you wanted. But that's kind of a neat feature. That was a request from my business partner Travis, so kudos to him for that one. And I'm not going to go through everything yet. There's some other features here. But let's talk really briefly about the kind of the overall format. So, for any variable, it kind of goes this way. So it's like the variable name, the field type, and then the configuration. So that's the basic syntax for any variable or any variable type. So the name that's going to show into the form, the type of field that it's going to be generated, and then whatever configuration parameters need around it. So like right with the date here, it's this is the name, that's the field type, and then that's the configuration that's tied to that field type. Obviously, like the configuration and the field type need to be aligned. You're not going to put in option values for a file name. So and then in terms of where you can put variables, I almost always put variables in my title. So I'll put customer name in the title there. I'll put it in the header. And then, obviously that can also be put into the footer. And then that just gives you the more options of where things are used. And then we'll go into the replacing functionality real quick. So I'll put our customer name in here and our delivery date. And this is where the title becomes really important. So you can just replace these in the document that you have open right now. If you just press start, that will happen. Um, but I mean, 99% of the time, at least for me, I don't want to replace it in my template. My template is my template, and that's where it is going to. I want it to stay the same. So almost all the time, I'm clicking on the save as a copy, and then it will show you. It will already show you the replaced title, and so if you really want to like change it here, you can. But you can also select where you want it to be saved. So if you want to save in the same folder, you could save it there. If you want, like, you can save it in a different folder. You can add a separate folder. So let's say this is just a solid digital folder, and then it'll create that. I can select it, and now it's going to be save in that folder. And when I click on start now, it will retain all of the variables in this base document, but then export a copy with those variables replaced. And then it gives me a link to the new copy. So if we open that, you'll see the title's changed. The customer name will be in the header, and customer name will be the footer with the date replaced. All right, going back to the default document here. I think that pretty much covers what I wanted to cover in this webinar. I'm not seeing any questions in chat. So there's nothing I can. Oh, here's one cool feature again to mention before we close up here. But down here, there's the always open doc variables for this document. That's great when you have a template that you're going to be opening and sharing. It's nice to have that because that just pre-opens doc variables whenever this document is open instead of having to go to add-ons and go down to start. So that's that. I mean, unless there are any questions that anybody has, I'm gonna sign off and we'll save the rest of the more advanced features for the next round. And otherwise, thank you all for joining, and thank you all for watching. Have a good one.